This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next program.
This is All India Radio. In today's national program of talks, we bring to you an interview with noted film actor Shri Anant Nag. Interviewing him will be film director Mr. Hemanth Murali.
I would like to start with a famous Benjamin Franklin quote, which basically states that in this world nothing can be certain except death and taxes. The same holds true for your average middle-class Kannadiga, along with two more things, our love for good filter coffee and a large piece of our collective hearts that is reserved for Anant Nag sir. It's an honor and a privilege to do this interview. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Hemanth.
Instead of going back to the start, let's start from today. How has cinema changed today? What is your approach for work? What is it like to explore different characters with your experience?
Well, as you know, I came from theatre. It was a chance kind of a happening, happenstance, as they say. So I was interested in acting in a play, and I was asked. I jumped at it because at that point of time I must have been 17 or 18, and I was like, what you can say, flailing in which direction to go in life, or because my ancestors came from the north and settled in coastal Karnataka. And my medium of instruction was Kannada. Then at the age of 12 I was sent to Mumbai, and it was a convent in English. And I did my matriculation, then I went in for arts and for a couple of months, and then shifted to science and then into commerce, and I took up a job in a bank as a vacation job. At which point I got this offer to act in a play. And one thing led to the other. And in about, say, 5 years' time, I got opportunities to act in several plays, about, say, 50 plays. And it was not always the main role, other powerful roles also. And at that time, so that was my aim at, and I had very good directors under whom I tried, like Venkatrao Talgeri, and R.D. Kamath, K.K. Suvarna, and then, of course, Amol Palekar, Satyadev Dubey, and Manjunath Prabhu. R.D. Kamath was from Mangaluru, Manjunath Prabhu from Ankola. So I got a chance to act in Konkani, Kannada, and then on to some Hindi and a couple of Marathi plays also. There were very definite scripts, and we would rehearse a play for a couple of months before going on stage. When I got a chance to act in films and all that, to begin with, it was all art films. Yes. And they had a script pattern, because most of these people, especially in the world of art films, were new wave films, as it was. They had very good scripts, the art films, and it was called new wave then.
Correct.
I got a chance to act in the parallel films, to these new wave things, in the sense what were called commercial films, or later on middle cinema, etc. And in the middle cinema and earlier times, scripts were not so definite as such. There would be a summary or a synopsis of the story, and the director-writer would write the dialogues on the sets. Slowly I succeeded in persuading, especially the youngsters, to come on, let's have a script, a screenplay, like a play. That would be more helpful for actors also. And then now some people also come sometimes for films particularly. And mostly I'm doing films now. So they would come and say, I would give you a narration. So I would say that, look, what happens is when you start narrating, my mind kind of goes to, I cannot concentrate for your entire narration. So what's better is that you write a script and give it to me. And so that change has come now, and now there is a definite script, and which is very helpful to actors in particular, and also to the directors themselves and the team as such. So that's a definite change, I can say. And as to quality differs, but at the same time, the audience also differs. And during Corona, what is called OTT has come now, over the top. And that's also become a platform for cinema. So now they are trying to coexist. Theatres are vying with OTTs today. And so now, slowly, there are films which I have also done. Some of them are aimed at OTT only, because knowing that the mass public as such, or the what you call masses such, they wouldn't come to see such a film. So let's aim at OTT only. And I'm sure the producer, and there are TV rights, and the producer has to balance it as to, so far as his investment is concerned. And newer ways are found today. So that's the definite change I can see.
Having worked with you personally, sir, and seen your approach towards characters, what I have noticed is that your ability to mold into a completely different person that the character demands. So in your life, spanning 50 years and over 300 films in multiple languages, you have played so many characters. So how do you get into under the skin of the character? What is your approach, and how do you separate yourself from the character, and how do you find the character?
It all came from the world of theatre only, really. Because those directors were, and even the writers were very particular about what an actor does with their lines and etc. In one way, you can say that the method is to put it in Sanskrit, parakaya pravesh, as it is said. So that has been my approach, in the sense you have to, and you can lightly also say that who is an actor? An actor is a good impersonator. He has to be that. He has to be not he himself.
Correct.
So in doing that, that's a process which happens if I get a script, like in your two films which I have acted in, Godi Banna, Sadharana Maikottu, and also Kavaludari. You give the script, I read the script, and I study my role, and the role goes on and on and on. I think about it all the time. Mm-hmm. It's all in the thinking, they say. Even a worm can become a butterfly.
Beautiful.
As they say. So, in that sense, you mull over it all the time, the role, and it's there, and over time you get an approach. This should be the approach to this role. And you post it at the back of your mind, or it posts itself at the back of your mind. And when the time comes to bring it out, you have to be said, if my name is Anant, role I'm playing is Venkob Rao, or say, I try to minimize that Anant. If I succeed to say over 95%, it's very difficult to be 100%, then the performance will be good. So minimize your personality to such an extent. So that is why I said in another sense it's impersonation. You become that person. Mm-hmm. But not in serious roles, it's a different approach. In lighter roles or comedy, that are also different. But if it's a role well written, then the actor enjoys himself in that part.
There's no greater privilege than watching you come alive in character, because it is truly a remarkable experience to witness, because you see something happen instantly in front of you, and it's very magical.
To be honest, what happens is, I'm aiming at that, but I really do not know what is on my face. Okay. Recently I did a film, I must say. Producer is Rakshit Shetty. And the director is Shishir Rajmohan. The name of the film is Abracadabra. So he said there is a very powerful scene, and there is a transformation in that character. One who is facing the east, say. Now he is facing the west entirely. It's a 180-degree turn for that character. The director told me, so for this I have not written any dialogues. I want you to just emote it. But I am confident that you can do it. Then I said, look, if there are some lines, even if there are 2 or 3 sentences, I should say them. Then I know that expression will be on my face. That feeling will be in my heart. So that's the usual way. So people are so used to mouthing words and then acting, and the audience sees it. So now I don't want that. I don't want you to say anything, but it should appear on your face. I said, no, man, I don't know. It's very difficult. I don't know if, okay, you say action and I looking at the camera, or the camera is looking at me, and I bring those thoughts in my mind. I wouldn't know if my face is showing it. Mm-hmm. So let me write minimal sentences myself, since you have not written it and you don't want that approach. But still I would use, say, letters. Okay, he said, because this is the pattern, this is the way actors emote without words, totally without words, unless it's a character which is dumb or he cannot speak. Such an actor as I have seen is when I was a dumb person, Sanjeev Kumar had performed a wonderful role a long time ago. So I said, with these lines, let's do. And then it's about a 5-minute scene. Camera is on me, and I have only these three sentences which he has permitted. And I said it with bringing all the emotions and things, and everyone after the shot, he said cut, and then everyone shook hands, and everybody said amazing, very well done, sir. Then I looked at the director. He said, this is excellent, sir. I'm happy, he said. I said, I don't see that you are happy. So then I said, we will do it your way. Now having done what is once with speech, now let me try it without speech.
Without speech.
Totally without, but I'll have those thoughts and I have my timing, and I'll do that, sir. And then he said, yes, sir, go ahead. So the same scene we took another time. And I didn't speak those lines, but the thoughts were there. And then that was another 5 minutes shot. It was over. And then he was, he was in delirium. He was so happy, ecstatic almost. And then I said, I still don't know. So just look at it on the TV. No, I'll see it when the film comes out. I don't want to see it on the... I'll see it on screen, let's say.
Oh, I'm very sure it will be.
Then I said, we came to the film when I had to record my dialogues, other dialogues.
Dubbing,
We came for the dubbing stage. I said, which one have you seen? He said, no, you see, sir. And he had kept that silent scene. Then that was the first time.
You saw it.
So I saw it and I said, are you happy with this? And I said, what's the alternate where I had spoken? I will do another dubbing for that shot. He says, no, sir, we don't want it. I don't want it.
Nice.
So that's the approach. So you have to be at least above 95%. I shouldn't be there. That character should be there. That has been my approach generally.
Another thing that we associate with your body of work over all these years is your absolute versatility. There's no character you have not done. You have played all genres, from playing a very serious, brooding sort of a cop in Kavludari, who has been, run down by the system, or serious character who is narrating the story of KGF, for example, or your earlier comedic stories or your previous works. The versatility is something that stands through. How is one person able to do so many things? That is the wonder for all of us as people who love you.
You see, what is called the foundation for that was the stage, the theatre. After a few years, 2-3 years, I used to adapt plays from other languages into Kannada, Konkani, and stage them. I used to do that work also. I would direct also, and then act. At that time, when I got into not just my role, but even other roles. So I had to translate those into languages and all. So I had the opportunity to study various roles. There are say 10 or 12 characters in a play or in a film which you can apply later. I knew the varying emotions and feelings, etc. And then on stage also I had that experience, which stood me in good stead in the sense that helped me increase my versatility. And in comedy in particular, Mr. R.D. Kamath and that Manjunath Prabhu, as I said, they wrote basically very humorous plays. And in that style, comedy, there are very, very different, types of comedy. You have comedies and humor in it, and then there is slapstick style, and there are different ones. Each role may demand a different style of comedy. I had done that in many plays. When I came into cinema also, there were some light scenes for me, but overall the roles were very serious.
Serious, yeah.
But suddenly a phase came and I became a romantic hero, and then I said, I am doing the same thing, and the producers also would tend to do what has clicked. So in a different roles, but more or less after 15, 20 films, I found myself repeating myself. And I used to complain. I said, because that film clicked, because this film, you have brought the element here also. Give me a change. Sir, please sit with the writer. And that those writers would help me out. And then they helped out on such things. And then a phase came that I met directors who said, this is total comedy, sir. The feeling in the industry was that, earlier times, sir, you are a hero. You cannot do comedy because there is a comedian already in the film. Correct. So comedian is different. You can't do all that. So, up to a point in humor, okay, for the hero. But there is a comedian already. And that thinking also changed, and one person came at a full-length comedy in which I acted in. And then so many writers, directors said, he can do comedies also. So there was a pattern. Some 25 films were only comedies only, but different kinds of comedies. There were writers who said, this role only Anant can do, so we better get him. Then I had to sit with the writer, the producer, and the director, and then I got a chance to play many different roles, very different types and all genres as you would. There are very different roles in Telugu films, Malayalam films, Hindi films also, with particularly I've done 6 films in a row with Shyam Benegal. And very different characters. And I had done comedy also in one of the roles, with Shyam Benegal also, in the film Manthan.
Manthan, yeah.
So, and I have to have my lines that way, and I would say. And that was broken by Shishir in Abracadabra, that pattern.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you, sir, is everybody knows your enunciation, your language, your ability, your voice is something that is a magic by itself. When you speak in Hindi, your enunciation is really good. You can, the character way, the way he speaks. If you were to speak in Kannada, if you were to speak in English. So the way you punch the letters, the emotions, how important is language?
I grew up in an ashram, Anand Ashram. The head was Swami Ramdas. For 12 years of my life, I shuttled between ashram and then the mutt, Chitrapur mutt we have. In the ashram, it was always bhajans and prayers and Ramnam and all. But in the mutt, it was all very ritualistic. And you had to have, say, Ganapati Atharva Shirsha, and then Rudra, then Mantra Pushpanjali, and then the Bhagavad Gita. Different. So I had to, my father insisted in that I learn all this, There also in bhajans and all, singing in the bhajans and all different languages. They would pick up that bhajan book and then open the pages and then sing bhajans. But it all helped because our teachers were very strict, especially in the mutt. The guru would sit with a small stick, and if you had pronounced a word wrong, would come. So one had to be correct. Otherwise, you get that way. All that increased my memory power as such. I could remember, even on stage when I acted, I could easily recall dialogues of, say, 25 pages, 30 pages, soliloquies in particular. And that helped. Then I used to watch how it is, how is Hindi spoken, how is Kannada spoken. And everywhere, uchar spasht hona chahiye.
Correct.
So whatever the language, otherwise the beauty of the language is gone.
Is lost, yeah.
So it's your duty as an actor to observe that, study that, and yet you have to watch out. How is this spoken? So in Kannada in particular, there is a particular way how coastal Kannada is spoken.
Speaks, yeah.
A particular way which in what is in old time, in old Mysore area, they would, or in the north of Karnataka. So there are 3-4 varieties of ways. So which applies, which is true for all languages all over India. I used to make that point. In Kannada, of course, by and by I learned all different accents and different styles of talking and all. But in other languages, I would say, so you read this. I would make the director, you read it out. And then I'll watch how he, because he knows the language much better than I do. Say in the Malayalam, or Tamil or Telugu or Hindi also. I made it a way of acting, but the language is a must.
I have seen you approach work like almost in a meditative manner. It's almost like a prayer. There is a certain amount of reverence, a certain amount of dedication that comes in the way we look at God. It's a very spiritual thing. So what is your relationship with God and how does it transform to your art form and your work?
At Anand Ashram, we had as I said, a lot of bhajans. And even today I remember those bhajans, with about 70, 75 bhajans I can sing. In Kannada, in Hindi, in Marathi, these three languages. And I know a couple of them, jo aarti kehte hain. You know, Gujarati one bhajan. My father insisted that I study the whole of Bhagavad Gita, and I had to learn it by heart. There were 700 verses. And he would, I will test you tomorrow, he would say. And it was, that time it was what is called now, corporal punishment. I didn't have corporal punishment in school.
You had it at home.
So under that I had to learn. I did learn. But then after I was, but in bhajans also I would sing and all. So we had very beautiful bhajans. But I didn't sing professionally because I had not studied music. Like in ashram, I would say, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Keshava Madhava, Govinda Bol, Kaisa Pyara, Sundar Naam, Krishna Kaho Ya Radhe Shyam, Kaisa Pyara, Sundar Naam, Ram Kaho Ya Sita Ram, नाम की महिमा है अनमोल केशव माधव गोविंद बोल जय हरि बोल. Like this.
Beautiful.
Then in the mutt we had Bhagavad Gita. You need to sit and recite. Unless you keep reciting them or singing them, they disappear from my mind.
There's a discipline.
So to sit, say, chant 700 verses becomes impossible over time, because you need at least 5-6 hours to do that. So I brought down, I kept concentrated on about 5 different chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So all that helped me in Spashta Uchchar mein. In both places, from childhood, we were trained to sit quiet and then do some jap karne ka. And Swami Ramadas in particular, he had Diksha from Ramana Maharshi. So Ramana Maharshi ji, Swami Ramadas ji, and Ramadas ji was taught us that, and Aurobindo. So his approach was Triune Yoga. Tri, U-N-E, Yoga.
Coming back to acting and the roles that you've played, sir, are there been any instances where some roles have haunted you? Because I remember one instance when we were talking about Death of a Salesman. We were talking about a play called Barrister, where the role is disturbing. The character is disturbing.
In Barrister, there is sanity and insanity.
Correct.
So in that character's family, there is a history of insanity. And this person is struggling to be insanity. He fights insanity very hard. In the end, he succumbs to insanity. That was a very memorable role, which so haunted me. I said, I don't want to perform this. This is very difficult to.
Yeah.
Because, in cinema, you take it in cuts.
Correct.
In a play, it's a continuous 3-hour process. It used to be 3-act plays at that time. Be in that state for 3 hours at a time, and sometimes there would be 2 shows. I found it very difficult. I found it unnerving.
Correct.
So sometimes I felt that I might go insane. Then in Shyam Benegal's film, of course, there is a Kondura film.
Correct.
That role also was written. Then in Kali Yuga also, his belief.
Correct.
Also he is one, and then he suddenly learns that this is
wrong.
Very hard, and then he's switches to some other state. So such roles haunt you.
Correct.
Then I played in a Kannada film, I did Naninna Bidalare. That was a very tough role also. You are a very normal person, and suddenly you are very violent, and and that was made into Hindi also, Mangal Sutra. And those roles are very unnerving and very haunting. Rather than haunting, they are disturbing. So the thought of those roles sometimes, you don't want to think about such roles.
The kindness that you shower and the space that you give young directors is really something that is, I can't thank you enough for it.
Like, as you know, we share a birthday. I'm on 4th September, you're also 4th September. So now you're in, I'm sure, in 30s. I have crossed 74 and I'm 75th. So all these youngsters, they're like my sons now.
Yeah.
So I tell them, so this role at this age of mine, it doesn't suit me. Well, if there is another role in the same subject, I will consider it. But you have to cast someone else. I cannot play. It won't. There is what is called somebody you should be. Yeah. With age, you should be at least appear dignified.
Who have been in all these years? Who have been some of your favorite actors to work with? Because you can lift the scene along with the other person that you're performing. So it's kind of a dance in that sense.
I have not thought that way at all. When I came as a newcomer, some producer did come forward, cast me, dared to invest on me. So I have kept, as a matter of principle, I have never recommended a heroine or for this role you cast this person or that person. I stay neutral on that. I say, because like everybody is a potential actor or an actress. If I say cast this lady or that man, it's not my job really, and I shouldn't be doing it, because if he's in his mind someone new is there, and I suggest someone else, that new person will lose out. So, similarly, yes. So there are any number of very good actors, actresses, and at the same time newcomers who are potential actors and actresses. So I've always stood apart from those decisions. And so I know, but whenever I get a chance, I do publicly laud and applaud their performances, mention it, be it a lady or a man, and I'm happy that way, because I don't have that onus on me or sense of guilt on that.
Like you rightly said, a position that you're in, the influence that you have, the maturity to step away from it is something that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Sir, in closing, I want to say something. Sir has always told me that love and affection of people trumps every award out there. But I speak on behalf of lakhs and lakhs of those very people for the relentless pursuit of excellence to his craft over several decades in various languages, an undisputed contribution to the medium. Well, it's wonderful talking to you as always. I hope the listeners have had a good, experience listening to you. And this is just a fragment of the wonderful depth that you have given us over so many years. And it's a privilege, an absolute privilege for all of us. I speak for lakhs and lakhs of people who adore you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Hemanth. Thank you. And thank you, AIR Bengaluru. I hope you are happy with this interview.
In our national program of talks, you were just listening to an interview with noted film actor Shri Anant Nag. He was interviewed by Mr. Hemanth Murali, a film director. This was a production of All India Radio, Bengaluru.
You were listening to an interview entitled Anant Nag, an actor for all seasons. Conceptualized by Naveen K. Gupta of All India Radio Delhi, this program was produced and presented by Nawaz Nengroo of AIR Bengaluru and came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio.